Hey everyone, Clio here. It's time for my December TBR. Every year I'm surprised with how quickly December comes around. When it's time for January, I always feel such a loss because December is my favorite month of the year and I absolutely love Christmas and the lead up to Christmas and all of those holidays. So it's a favorite time of year. I'm thriving right now. And so I'm very much looking forward to this particular TBR. But in reality, it isn't necessarily a TBR, though there will be certain books that I'm definitely planning to get around to, but it is more like a trying to get everything done before the end of the year. The main goal for this one would be to kind of try and get around to all the books that I currently have going, the ones that I'm currently in the middle of. I would definitely want to see those one finished, but aside from that I have a few other books that I do want to get around to, so it's gonna be a tight fit, I think. But so, the first thing for the month of December is that I will be taking part in a readathon called Slavicathon, which is organized by Sasha from the Wild Sasha. Now, this is her first readathon, so definitely go and show it some love. I will link the announcement video down below. This is a Slavic folklore-inspired readathon taking place on the 4th and the 5th of December. Now, if you are part of her Patreon, which I am, then you actually get a few extra days to read these books. Now, of course, the idea is to read Slavic folktale-inspired stories. I'm not entirely sure whether these will be Slavic folklore inspired, but they are definitely by Slavic authors. So I will be reading 3 books for that, or attempting to at least. The first one is Karaoke Culture by Dubravka Ugnesic. I'm sorry if that's totally mispronounced. So this is an essay collection. I really enjoy reading essay collections. I have only done this twice before, but one time was, for example, in the month of November. And so when I saw this one pop up as one of the books for this Croatian author, then I was like, okay, I'm gonna give that one a go. It is an essay collection about aspects of our modern culture, of our modern life. So that really interests me as well. That kind of reminds me of Trick Mirror, an essay collection I read before, which I really enjoyed. So that is book 1 that I will be trying to read. Then I'm also trying to read The Wolf Wilder by Katherine Rundell. This is a middle grade story set in Russia. Our protagonist, who I think is called Fyodora, is living in the remote parts of the woods with her mother, and her mother is a wolf wilder, basically meaning that she takes wolves that have been tamed and she tries to teach them sort of like survival skills. She tries to teach them how to fend for themselves in the wild so that they can be let loose again. Now, through circumstances, Fyodora has to kind of escape her house or like run away from home, and I'm assuming that she's going to go on a big adventure including wolves. Now, I very much am looking forward to this one. I think a sort of like snowy setting, middle grade, is a perfect read for the Christmas season as well. And then the third one definitely is a Christmas specific book, because this is The Night Before Christmas by Nikolai Gogol. Nikolai Gogol is a Russian author. I have read his Dead Souls before, which was kind of anticlimactic because that is a story that he never finished. And so it really was frustrating to get towards the end and be like, what? This is where it ends? But this is a very short one. This is a 74-page Christmas story. I don't know too much about it, except for the fact that a witch steals the stars, I think, and the devil steals the moon. But we will see. I'm expecting a magical tale and something to really get me into the Christmas mood, as if I need a further push to get into the Christmas mood. But so these fulfill certain prompts. So I'm putting in Karaoke Culture for Bright Cover. I'm going to be putting in The Wolf Wilder for Animal Friend, and I'm putting in The Night Before Christmas for Feathers, because one of the covers for this book features a bird, so birds have feathers. So these are the books that I'm planning to read for the Slavicathon. I might be participating in another readathon. I might be participating in the reindeer readathon. For that I still need to fill in the sign-up form and get assigned my team, so only when I do that I'll be able to see what prompts I'll be using for which books, so that'll be more of a casual thing if I do end up participating in that one. But in any case, I'll also link the announcement video for that down below. But so, let's get into the other books that I want to read this month. As I indicated, one of the major goals is to get around to the books that I'm currently in the middle of, so let's just start with those. So I am still in the middle of the periodic table of feminism. I bought this book on a whim in March, I believe, when it was like €5 in the bookstore that I was dropping by in, because it was on sale. And so I am just over halfway through this book. I still need to read half of this, and this is basically a collection of women who have played a major role when it comes to feminism, and a short description of who they were, what they did in life, what their impact was. I do like the fact that this is intersectional and that this refers to the fact that certain of these feminist figures that are referred to weren't intersectional at all. So I do definitely like that sort of nuance that is there, that it doesn't just give you all these feminist figures and tells you how wonderful they were, but that they also from time to time indicate, like, you know, this person really did great things for women, but they really didn't believe that black women had the same rights, for example. But I don't exactly like this type of book, it turns out, because, you know, it just goes in one ear, out the other. I do like reading about the wide range of women that have had an impact on our history, but I feel like I'm not gaining much out of it because I just constantly forget everything that I've just read. So I will be continuing with it, I think, because you do get to fly through it quite quickly. But, you know, I wouldn't personally recommend it all that often, because I also don't necessarily see myself reaching back to it once I've finished it neither. Next up, we've got Arcanum Unbounded by Sanderson. I do still need to read some short stories in this one. I think I still need to read Elements of Jack, or Jack, I'm not entirely sure how you're supposed to pronounce that. The Shadows of the Forest of something. Shadows for Silence in the Forest of Hell. And then I also need to read White Sand and The Sixth of the Dusk. Well, I don't know anymore whether I'm going to be able to finish it within the month of December, but that is definitely still something that would need to happen. And then the final book that I'm currently in the middle of that needs to be finished is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel, García, Márquez. I haven't continued with this one in a very long time, and I definitely should be, because I was enjoying it. It's just that it's for a secret reading project, which I'm now spoiling to some extent, but because it's for a secret reading project, I always read it outside of the books that I'm supposed to be reading, and for some reason that means that I always feel like I don't have time for it. So those ones, to some extent, are a priority this month. They need to get read, but there are other books that I also want to get around to. For the month of December, for a very long time, there was just one book on that TBR. Basically, this book has been on my TBR since like the 1st of January or something. I assigned this book to the month of December before the year even started, and so that is going to be Rhythm of War. So for the entirety of this year, I have been rereading a lot of Cosby works. I've been reading certain stuff for the first time, and so that was all going to culminate in my reread of Rhythm of War in the month of December. So I really enjoyed reading Rhythm of War last year, and I think it's going to be like a perfect thing to reread after having gone through all of those Cosby works. You know, I will have some information that I didn't have the first time around, but because I hadn't read Mistborn Era 2 at that point in time, for example, but also most of the works are now like fresher in my mind, so who knows whether there are like more Easter eggs that I maybe didn't find out about the first time around. So ideally I get around to it, but I think that realistically speaking, this isn't very feasible, and so maybe I should just consider that reading those 3 or 4 novellas that I still needed to get around to in Arcanum Unbounded instead of this one is a better goal for the month of December. But who knows? I do have more than a week off around Christmas. Who knows? Maybe if I just focus on it then, I can still do it. But then again, that's just setting myself up for failure. So, and then the final book that I'm putting on there is a book that should have been read in November. And that's really like the shame of most of the TBRs that this has been on. I think this will be like the 6th time or something that I'm putting it on a TBR. And that is Congo by David van Reybrouck. The month of November. So yeah, my November TBR took very much of a sidetrack when I realized that in order to be able to prepare for the release of Cytonic, I needed to reread Starside, I needed to read the 2 novellas between there, and then of course I read Cytonic as well. So I think about a week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks of this month went to that. So I all of a sudden didn't have time for the books that I had set myself out for in the month of November. So at this point in time, I still have 2 days left, and I also still need to read Dawn Shard by Sanderson. And so I've decided that there is still a possibility for me to finish Dawn Shard in the month of November, so I'm gonna be focusing on that over Congo. But I do still want to read this book, and so I'm gonna tentatively put it on the December TBR, and I'm gonna hope that at the very least I can get this book started in December. But so yeah, that is I don't think it's feasible, but we're putting these books on there in any case. So without further ado, let me just end this video. Let me know what books you'll be reading in December. Are there certain books that you absolutely still want to get around to within this year? Definitely let me know down below. If you have an interest in any of the books that I've mentioned here, definitely let me know as well. Or if you've read any of those, let me know what you thought of them. And hopefully you enjoyed this video, and see you guys for a future one. Bye!